Welcome to the HTML basics tutorial. Today we'll learn how to start our first coding project, our first website, how to work on it in Atom, and specifically we look at the central language of the web, that is HTML, and we learn about the basics of HTML. HTML is the language that brings content on our website, so it's the language we'll use to actually put text and images and later on audio and video onto our website, and it gives structure to the website. But we'll understand more what I mean by that in just a little bit. The tools needed in this tutorial are the Atom text editor, which you should have downloaded by now. If not, there is information on how to do this on the Communications Lab website. And you need a browser. I highly recommend using Chrome for any code work that you do this semester, but Safari and Firefox would also work. Again, I highly recommend Chrome. Okay, let's start. To start any project in which we intend to write code, it's best to first make a new folder somewhere on our computer where we are confident that this project will stay forever, because dragging around files while working on them is not a good idea. So I'm going to say new folder, and I recommend you, by the way, down here, you might have seen this, I try this out. If it's confusing, let me know, and it will be different in the next video. But essentially, every key that I'm pressing will be displayed down here. So the folder, we should give it a good name. And this is not a good name, because in naming files, in coding projects, let's agree on not using spaces like this. So I'm going to call it my first project. Okay, this is where the project shall live. This folder is at the moment empty. Now I will open Atom. Atom is empty too. And my favorite way of starting a project is to just take this folder and drag it into Atom. Now we see the folder name here on the side. Maybe I can make this a little bit bigger. I cannot. Okay. We see the folder name on the side and nothing on the right. All right. Next up, we need a file inside this folder. And this is what I'm doing. I'm doing the first folder in my file system on my computer. Afterwards, every new text files, every code files I create, I do that in Atom. That is most secure to avoid any errors. So in Atom, to make a new file, we can right-click on the folder name and say new file. And the first HTML file that we'll create will be called index. And then the extension of the file describes what kind of file it is. Just like you might know from images, they often end on .jpg, which is an extension that lets every application know this is an image. In our case, we want every application who tries to handle this file, we want it to know that this file is an HTML file. Now, index is the default name for HTML files. You could name this anything you want. Again, avoid spaces, please. But this could also be cat or penguin. Could even be non-animals like castle. Really anything you want, .html. The reason I named it index is that traditionally the central page of your web page, what I mean by this is, you know that web pages have multiple pages, but one of them will be the home page of it. I hope this makes sense. Should be called index. So the first or most important page is usually called index.html. If I hit enter now, we see how the index.html appears here. Also in our file system, if we go into this folder here, we see that this file was created and it's also visible here. Okay, next up, how to recognize HTML apart from the file extensions. You recognize HTML by these characters. If you see a file with a lot of these characters, chances are that's an HTML file. And the reason we see so many of these characters is that these are the characters that construct so-called tags. In HTML, we have a lot of tags to arrange the content and the structure that we create. An example for this comes right here. This is a P tag, and more specifically, this is a P opening tag, and this is a P closing tag. P stands for paragraph. That means this P tag allows us to put text on the website, put a paragraph on the text side. Which text are we putting on the website? Whatever text is in between the opening and closing tag. So we have an opening tag, a closing tag. The closing tag you can recognize on this slash here. And whatever is between the two tags is the content. Now, this file at the moment creates a web page with one paragraph, or really one sentence, that is whatever text is in between the opening and closing tag. How can we see this? This is the website, index.html. One way of seeing this is to open the browser and double-clicking this file. The file will automatically, by default, be opened by your browser. And your browser loves HTML, and whenever it gets an HTML file, it goes on to rendering it. What I mean by rendering it is, you see the difference between here and here is that we don't see the P and P. That is because the tags are just for the browser to know what to do with the content. So all the browser shows us is this. So again, one way of opening it is double-clicking it, or also dragging it into the browser. I can demonstrate this again. Dragging it into the browser will also work. A slightly more advanced and recommended way involves the package that you installed, if you installed it in the previous tutorial, called Atom Live Server Plus. So if we have our project open here, all we do is go to Packages, Atom Live Server Plus, and say Start, and it opens automatically in the browser. One advantage here is, and I hope I'm right here, this is an experiment. Let's try this again. I'm stopping the live server quickly. I'll open the file the first way in the browser, and now see what I'm doing. I'll make a change to this. And by the way, this circle here signifies that the file is not saved yet. So if I'm gonna save the file, I can do this here. Or I can just say Command S, which I'm doing right now. Then the circle goes away. And you see the website has not updated. I have to click here, then the content updates. Now, in the second way, where we open the website by going onto Packages, Atom Live Server Plus, Start Server. Let's see how this works in the same way. If I now make changes again and I save, oh, my bad. Okay, never mind. I thought it would auto-update, but it does not. It used to be in different versions. Nevertheless, I recommend using the packages Atom Live Server. Great. Okay, where are we going to go next? We know what the index file is. It's the main file of our website. We know why we need a .html extension, that is for applications to know what file type they are dealing with and how to ultimately interpret and render this file. We have learned that HTML uses a lot of tags, and tags usually in the most cases have an opening tag and a closing tag, and the closing tag we can recognize on the slash. In between two tags is their content. We also know how to see our project in the browser. Recommended by Leon is packages. Chinese keyboard. No. Atom Live Server Plus. Okay. Next, tag attributes. Attributes gives the browser additional information about how to render the element. One example for a tag attribute is needed for the image tag. That is the tag that helps us to bring images on our website. For that, we should start with an image, and I already Googled it a little bit. So we need some image to put on our website. And my favorite on the quick scroll before was this. So I'll quickly just save this image into my project folder. And I give it a simpler name, penguin.jpg. So now you see in my project folder I have our index.html file, and I also have an image. I can close this. To bring this image on our page, we need a different tag. The P tag was to bring text or a paragraph onto our website. To bring an image, we use the img tag. And the img tag alone doesn't do anything, because the browser needs to know, for one, that we want to put an image, but also it needs to know which image. So inside this opening tag here, we're now going to give this tag an attribute, meaning additional information about how to render this element. The browser wants to know the source for the image. So the attribute is called src, standing for source. And in here now, we give the image's name, that is penguin.jpg. And we're going to refresh the page, and here's the image. So here's two things to take away. For one, attributes have always this structure and are always within the opening tag. So the opening tag is all this, right? Every tag has two of these pointy brackets. So within these brackets is the attribute, and it always has the structure of attribute name, =, attribute value. Another interesting takeaway here is that you might have noticed that I have not used a closing tag for the image. And while it would work with the closing tag, normally it is not being done. Actually, I'm surprised that it works just as well. So image tags don't have closing tags. I don't know many more tags where this is the case. We'll learn one more later. But that's just the way it is. Mainly this because images don't have further content than is already defined in the attribute. Great. So we know what tag attributes are, and we did an example for this. Next, we're gonna actually set up a real website. A real website needs a little bit more than just 2 tags. What I mean by this is there's a basic structure that every website should have. So this should always be the starting point for your HTML website. And we're going to write this out by hand once. And later, if you watch until the end, I'll show you a trick on how to do this much quicker. Okay, let's delete these 2 tags. And I'm going to do this slowly for you. So we are writing HTML. So everything we do will be contained in an HTML opening and an HTML closing tag. Next, inside tags, you can have other tags. That is the norm. Inside this HTML opening and closing tag will always have a head, opening, closing, and a body. This is easy to remember. The head is on top of the body. This will make, I'll explain why we need this later on. What you notice also I'm doing is I'm indenting these tags. So this is very important and very often not done, but it will make your life 200 times more easy. That you indent to signify hierarchy, meaning the HTML tags contain these tags, so we're going to indent all of these. And whatever tags are contained in the body, we're going to indent by 1 tab yet again. Now to make everything a little bit more complicated, on top of it all, we have to say document type HTML. Now this is the most basic website. This is the starting point of every web page you will build. If you refresh our page now, there is nothing. I'll explain in just a little bit what the head and the body specifically do. For now, everything we do next, let's do it inside the body. I'm going to make the head very small here. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to show you just a few more tags. So in the body, we can make a bunch of tags. One is called H1, and again we have an H1 opening tag, some content, and an H1 closing tag. We can look at our website, and here it is. And maybe you remember how the P tag looked before. This text is slightly bigger, and that is because H1 stands for headline 1. Now you might wonder what the 1 means. Let's try a different headline. Headline 3. Another headline. By the way, now it does auto-update here, so this is very convenient. I'm just saving my document, and I'm automatically seeing it in the browser. So we see this is smaller, meaning the number here defines the hierarchy of the headline. Next up, let's make another P tag. A perfectly normal paragraph. Now, just as and again, just to highlight this again, you see how this is indented yet one more tab than these? It's because they are inside the body. And this way you can very, very easily see the hierarchy in your code. What this also shows is that tags can be inside other tags. And I'm going to do this now again. Inside the P tag, I'll wrap another tag around the word perfectly. This tag B opening, B closing. H1 stands for headline 1, H3 stands for headline 3. There's also headline 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, I think. P stands for paragraph. B, let's save this. You see what happened here? B stands for bold. Equally, I stands for italic. And U for underlined. So this way we can give some styling just using HTML to our website. Let's make another P tag and see what happens. This is more text. And we see it started this on a new line. And that really shows, I think, really well what a paragraph is by definition. A paragraph is a group of text that is separated by other paragraphs, right? Paragraphs are always chunks of text, one paragraph, another paragraph, and another paragraph, meaning the default look of a paragraph is that it should start on a new line. So every time we use a P tag, it starts on a new line. Now, in between those two P tags, I'll show you another tag that does only have an opening tag and no closing tag, which is called BR. You see what happened? Let's add another BR here. BR stands for break. That is line break. That's how we can make some distance between different tags on our website. We could easily also use this between the H1 and the H3 tag, just as much. Okay, next I'm going to show you another interesting tag that is a list. Now, a list by definition is nested. Nested means one tag inside another tag. Why is a list nested? Well, one list actually describes a collection of individual things, right? So we already see the hierarchy here. That is, hey, this is one list. Inside it are 5 list items. So to say, hey, this is one list in HTML, we can say UL opening, UL closing tag, and list items are called LI, list items. Butter. And we see here starts a list. To make more list items, we simply add more list items into our one list. Honey. A motor bike. Okay, so LI stands for list item, and a list item is always within a list. But why does it say UL? We'd probably understand it. It would make more sense to us if it said L. But L is not a tag. UL stands for unordered list. Now this might sound confusing. It sounds confusing to me. To understand what is an unordered list in opposite to an ordered list, let's just try OL instead. This is a ordered list. So in just the same way, we say ordered list, and an ordered list also has list items. Here we can say Shanghai How about London and puppies? I'm gonna save now. And we see that an ordered list, the only difference is that it is rendered differently on the website. An ordered list assumes that we want to count the list items up from 1. An unordered list simply makes bullet points. Okay, finally I want to show you my favorite tag. And really it's my favorite tag because I think the web is invented around this tag. The web is about linking between web pages. And to make a link, we need an A tag. This is a link. And it looks exactly like a paragraph text at the moment. This is because you might already guess that an A tag on itself always has a content, that is the text that shows up on the page, but it also always brings us somewhere. And in HTML, this signals we'll need another attribute, because we don't see on the page necessarily where the link takes us. We see whatever word describes the link, but it still takes us somewhere anyway. So that is something that is not necessarily visible on the page, but our website knows about it. So this will take place in the form of an attribute. The attribute is called href. And inside here, we can put any link that we want. Let's just quickly try this. HTTP, probably HTTPS, www.newyorktimes.com. And now we see this link changed its look. If I click here now, it brings us to the New York Times website. Now, this is already amazing. A, by the way, stands for anchor. I'm not sure exactly why, but I'm imagining that every website or that basically a link can also be said to be an anchor that anchors us to another place. I'm not sure if I'm explaining this well, but you can make your own images in your mind to remember this. A stands for anchor, at least. I'm very sure. Let's try. Let's Google this quickly. This website, W3 Schools, gives us a lot of great resources on HTML. A tag, default. What does it stand for? An anchor. Okay, here's some further specification. For our purposes, it's the same. It's a link. Links can go to other websites. They can also go to files. In our project, we have one file at the moment. Let's quickly see if we simply put that file name into here. So now if we click this link, it just opens the file, which can be useful in this way, but it also takes us out of the web experience. Let's go back. The reason this is really useful though is because what if we had another HTML file? Then we could link from one page on our website to a different page. For example, we could say, for more lists, click here. So here we have two lists. Here it says for more lists, click here. And that could bring us to another HTML file, and you can try this at home. That's called, let's say, lists.html, where you list a few more lists. So that's cool. Now we know how to make multi-page websites using the anchor tag. So the anchor tag is the link, and it can link to other websites. It can also link to files and to specifically other HTML pages on our own website. All right, we're almost done with this tutorial. One thing I want to explain is you've noticed everything we've done here, we've done in the body tag. Now that is very important to realize. Do not put all of these anywhere else here. Don't put them down here or outside of the body tag or in the head tag. What you should remember is generally everything in the body page is the stuff that we want to appear on the page. Everything in the head tag is additional information about our website. One important one, one good example is the title tag. So again, this is also a tag, but because it's in the head, well, not because it's in the head, but it's a tag that is not intended to put something on the website, and therefore we put it to the head. What this one does, see in the tab up here, the title tag defines what the official title of your website is. Another very useful one is, and you'll run into problems if you try to use Chinese characters on your website. Chances are right now it would work, but once you put your files on a server, you would run into problems. So if you run into problems, please remember that in this tutorial there is the solution. And I have to look this up quickly, meta UTF-8 tag. If you use Chinese characters, like ni hao. And again, right now it works, but only because I'm working on this on my computer. Once you put it on the server, you would run into problems. If you run into problems, if you ever see your website where you intend to have Chinese or any other difficult characters that your browser doesn't seem to be able to cope with, remember this video and follow my lead. We use a meta tag that defines the character set, and we put it up here in the head. So this is something that doesn't itself show on the website, but it's us telling additional information about our whole website. So in a way, just like the attributes are additional information about a singular tag, what is up here is additional information about the whole website. So this is a nice head now with defining the char set to make sure our Chinese text shows up well and also giving our website a title. Okay, now the very, very last thing is more of a preview, predicting one tag that will be absolutely essential to everything you do. It's a really boring tag, but it's also very important. For this, I should also mention that HTML is often described as the language that brings content onto your page, but also structure. Structure, you can guess a little bit from this nested tagging here that I did. Definitely everything of this we can regard content, but really the one tag that is only used for structure is a div. I believe it stands for division. The div tag is only there to give structure, and you will use a lot of this in the future. So just as a quick preview, we could just try to understand what this might mean. You see, this section is sort of the header of our website. This is some content, and then this ones are all the lists, right? Even though this is a paragraph, it kind of belongs to these lists semantically. So to give structure to this website, we could put these different sections into different containers. And this will not make a difference now. It's more something that I'm doing this for you to get visually used to it, because you will very soon understand the power of the div tag to bring structure to your website. Let me finish this quickly. These are all of our lists. And I know I want to indent all of this, so I'm gonna highlight it all and say Command and then the square bracket that points to the right. Very handy. Oh. Okay, that is it. This is already a very complex website for our first day. So please take it slow and play around, test a lot, use many different tags to see what they do. On this website, you can find a lot of them. So I recommend you spend an hour or two trying them all and make note of things you don't understand and difficulties you run into. Okay, bye.